The new Mantis X10 firearms performance system has all the goodness of the original, plus holster draw analysis and recoil analysis. It's a fantastic upgrade and I recommend it highly.
Hey guys, Brian Hill, Complete Combatant. This is your Monday Mantis dry fire practice session. I'm going to talk about something that may be plaguing you, particularly. You have addressed several issues in maybe your physical performance, but you're still not getting the results that you desire. And that happens to a lot of folks when we're training. Somebody tells you to stop slapping the trigger, somebody tells you to grip the gun more, somebody tells you to see the sights, but it still doesn't alleviate the problem that we have. What we see in this sort of problem is if this X was the target, our rounds for a right-handed shooter would be low and left and reversed. What this is a great deal of precision. They're all going to the same point, but we're not having any accuracy. People need to understand there's a real difference in shooting between accurate and precision. So accurate would be anywhere in this circle, and precise would be to the same spot, but it doesn't have to be in the same place. I'm showing the mechanical precision of the shooting ability to put the round on top of each other, and accuracy is to hit the target. So you need to know the difference between those two. When I see this, I start thinking about the person and how I can interrupt their decisional process to be more beneficial to them. Here's the problem. If I tell you to watch the sights of the trigger, that's the very end of the decision. And it is unlikely that you can stop it at that point and make an improvement without starting the whole process over. So under pressure, under demand, you're simply going to go back to that, and there's no way to stop it. We need some conscious thought to be able to stop it. So if we can't see it in the sights and we can't stop it in the trigger, people will tell you to slow down to get your hits. What we find with that is you're making the same decision at a slower pace, so the results are exactly similar. They just take longer to go. So as a coach, we have to think about how can we communicate that to everyone that we're working with. And remember, every one of you is a coach because your first client is yourself. You've got to be able to coach yourself effectively. And this is what we're talking about is effective coaching, because you're there all the time. You need to do the work. You need to improve. So you need to be your best coach. Let me take you through this real quick. What I see with people is they either tend to be impatient or indecisive. The impatient shooters are going to feel like they need to do something immediately. They have no visual patience for doing anything to correct the situation. The indecisive group means that they can always improve what they're doing. There could be a better and better sight picture, and I want the bullets to go through the same hole, so they continue to look for the decision in the sights. This comes from two particular ideas of how to shoot. One is the speed group and one is the accuracy group. Shooting is both. You must both be fast and accurate. You don't get to decide between the two, but we all tend to do that. How can we make a better process? Okay, it's not necessarily in the sights and trigger. Once you understand how to press the trigger correctly and what the sights or the dot should be telling you, then the size of the target will tell you what is acceptable at the speed you can shoot it. So the bigger the target, the faster I can shoot it. The smaller the target, the more carefully I have to shoot it. And that's what makes a real difference for us. Some people are aiming and they do everything perfect, and then at the moment that they decide, that's when they either lose connection to it, they may close their eyes, they may check out, or they may just say now, and everything happens. And that's why it's hard to stop it at the sights and the trigger. So what we really want to do is we want to start visualizing what we want to happen. Okay? Visualization should lead to confirmation. So as I bring the gun out and I see everything is confirmed, then my binary decision is go, press the trigger. All right, and I'm going to stay with that. When it comes back, I will confirm it again, and I will shoot again. This is what calling your shots mean. I'm going to confirm the process that got the gun to the target, and I see everything as it should be in acceptable levels of accuracy, and I press the trigger. Otherwise, I'm wasting time. So we're going to visualize for confirmation. But some people, when they draw the gun, they must be convinced that everything is where it should be. Think about what the word convinced means. It means that you need to be persuaded. So if I draw the gun and then I line everything up and I haven't been persuaded yet, I'm going to continue to convince myself that that's enough. All right, and then I'm going to press the trigger. When I do that, if it only lasts for a second, that conviction, that convincing of myself, then I'll move the gun as I do it. Confirmation, if I don't see what I need to see, I simply go into the other binary decision, which is to correct it. Now here's the good news. A correction During a firing sequence, for most people, costs you 0.2 to 0.3 on the speed. 0.2 seconds to 0.3 seconds. Think of every miss, every horrible shot you have made. Would you spend wisely 0.2 seconds to correct the problem? I certainly would. If I have a 1 second draw and it turns into 1-2, but I don't miss the target and I don't drop into a delta, or I don't have something horrible go wrong where I shoot a non-threat, I'll spend that 0.2 every time because I can simply make that up in the administrative part of shooting. But 0.2 is what it takes to make a good decision, maybe 0.3 for some of us. So the confirmation group should be able to, either they see what they're supposed to and it's confirmed and that's the go decision, or correct, and as soon as they see what they're supposed to, that's the go decision. The convincing group will need to be persuaded, and they will spend an inordinate amount of time trying to persuade themselves that everything is good. And at the moment that they press the trigger, they'll stop thinking about it. Because for them, the decision is a lead up to a cliff and drop off. This is a cyclic decision. So with high-level athletes, we don't teach them technique. And this is something that I don't know if it's discussed much in the firearm industry. What we do is we teach athletes what to look at, what to see in advance. All right? I'm going to compare this to football. If you play middle linebacker, several things can happen to you. Either the offense is going to throw a pass or they're going to run the football, or they may try to trick you with one or the other. There is certain indications of what's going to happen before the ball snapped, so you can start to do in it. But one thing that we really found with high-level athletes is that you watch the hands. You don't watch the head-body movement, you watch the hands and where the hands go. Sounds like self-defense, doesn't it? We're getting 3 steps ahead of the process by confirming what we're going to see. So let's think about it for you. Much simpler. You're not going to try to fake yourself out. You're going to draw the gun. If you've been practicing, everything will come right to that point, and I'll see exactly what I need to see. It is now confirmed, it's acceptable, and I go. And then I get ready for the cycle. I continue the cycle. As soon as I press it, empty gun, dummy rounds. So as soon as I see what I need to see there and I call my shot and I say that's acceptable, then I get the trigger ready for the next round. So I'm staying in the cycle the whole time. What most people don't understand is they don't call shots brutally enough on themselves. It needs to be inside the circle, but it doesn't need to be geometrically precise. Anywhere inside of the hit area would be fine, and that's called a hit. Now we see in the timer, and Steve Anderson introduced me this to originally, it's about a 0.3 to 0.4 for a real makeup shot. That means you saw the sights and it wasn't what you wanted, so you followed up with another shot. Or if you look at the target, it's about 0.7 to 1.5 seconds to confirm that you need to make up a shot. So as you're dry practicing, we should always be seeing the sights. And we should read them. We should read the dot. We should read the front sight. And if it's not where we wanted to, we need to correct it before we press the trigger. So you're always correcting before you shoot. And then if you do something wrong during the shooting, you make a correction and follow up again with it. So always shoot as if every shot matters. Stay totally involved with the decisional process. Get ahead of the shooting. Don't think it's your finger. Don't think it's your sights. Don't think it's your vision. What we need to see is confirmation in advance. There are 2 systems that we use in our daily life, and this comes from the book, Thinking Fast and Slow. If you can get through it, I highly recommend it. It's a tough text, but it's some tremendous work for understanding how the human mind works. System 1 is the routine system. It drives the car. It makes the sandwich. Okay, it does things that you do on a routine basis. It requires very little effort. All right. System 2 is the mindful system, where we have to really draw ourselves into what we're doing and think about it in great detail. When you first start shooting, you're going to have to be mindful because it's new. All right. Eventually, though, you're going to develop a routine of what looks acceptable. Gary Klein did a lot of work on this. It's called recognition prime decision making, is what it's called. And if I see things as they should be, then I'm ready to shoot. If I don't see what I need to see, then I simply correct it and move on. So it's not at the finger, it's not at the sights, it's in the mind. And what I want to do is visualize that I'm going to see that gun come from here and go right to the target. No dot, find the dot, get back in position and correct it. And that only cost me a 0.2, and this will stop you. Now, how can I even get further ahead of that? Let's think about the sensations of a bad decision. We teach this in athletics a lot. Some people feel rushed and hurried to make a good decision, so they will do whatever because something now is better than something later. But that's not necessarily true. If you do the wrong thing now by missing, then that's not good. So we need to do the right thing as soon as possible and don't be rushed or hurried. Then the other side will spend a lot of time thinking about what to do. They'll be indecisive. They're going to look for overconfirmation. It's never going to seem perfect enough for them. And then when they do it, it'll be with a hesitancy, seeking permission in the technique to let it go. And at that point, they tend to check out also. So we want to stay in system 2 and be mindful until we recognize what the pattern of good shooting is. This is why I tell people not to shake their heads at themselves, not to talk negatively. We want to confirm the right actions over and over as a shooter, because that's the part of shooting that matters. But what most people do is confirm their mistakes over and over, and then they simply repeat them, and they can't figure out why they're not making progress. Confirm correct decisions, correct incorrect decisions. That's all you have to do with this. There's 2 systems in our mind outside of system 1 and 2. System 1's routine, system 2 is mindfulness. We also want to use our logic and our intuition. Albert Einstein said this, that intuition is the gift and logic is the servant. And we've made a culture that honors the servant and has forgotten the gift. Intuition is very good at recognizing patterns under extreme duress and speed problems. So that sounds like shooting, doesn't it? So we want to intuitively understand what a good shot and a bad shot is. Logic is very good at measuring what we do, at looking at patterns and data and building it. So use both systems, okay? Logic tends to be very heavy on the front of processing and slow, so we're better to do that afterwards. Intuition tends to be very quick, but it's not 100% precise sometimes, but it is accompanying with a feeling of correctness or flow when we do it. So use both systems. Use your logic and your intuition. As you're calling these shots, call them ruthlessly. Call the miss just as ruthlessly as you call the hit. But don't correct yourself with emotion, because you'll store it in a different part of your brain. So if I'm working here and I've got the gun out, I'm like hit, 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 miss. Go back, miss. Okay, get back on the target. Hit. Now I've got everything I wanted to. So now hit, 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 miss. Fix it. Just fix it. That's all you have to do with that motion. Okay? So the idea is to get ahead with the sensation, and the sensation comes from bad habituation. We all have bad habits. I'm not calling anybody out, but let's say what the sensation, if you have a sensation in your life, it's something you know you shouldn't be doing, you'll feel a certain amount of pressure to go do it. If you can interrupt that moment right there, it's much easier. But it's much harder to stop during it. All right. So say you like to eat a lot of chocolate. I like dark chocolate especially. All right. If I feel the sensation and I want dark chocolate, what I simply do is look at it and say, why do I need chocolate right now? Well, I've always had chocolate at this time, so I should eat it and I deserve it. Well, that's not necessarily true. Did I work out today? Well, I did not. So I've interfered the sensation of what's going to happen, and it allows me to interrupt the bad decision. Sometimes I just go ahead and make the decision anyway. I like chocolate. I'll eat chocolate. Okay, but I recognize the sensation is pushing me to it. Just because it was routine doesn't mean that I need it. And what I found in my life is if I can interrupt that sensation, I have a lot more enjoyment of what I'm doing. So imagine if your accuracy went up into 98, 99, 100% all the time because you made good decisions. You'd be able to go faster, all right? And in speed, we'll balance it out. And you're going to find this kind of cool place of flow in between logic and intuition where you're really engaged with what you're doing. Time has no sensation. You'll just simply shoot well because you're confirming what you expect to see through visualization. I go for my gun, I didn't get it. Is there anything I can do to make up that time? Nope, I need to get the gun. Now get a good grip, see the red dot, gently press the trigger to the rear. I just go back to the process. I don't drop out of the process at that time. Hope this makes sense to you guys. You've got to get ahead of the decisions. This is how self-defense works. The sooner we can see it, if we're 2 or 3 steps ahead of where we have to commit, we're going to be ready to see it, and we'll simply get ahead of it. So practice your dry practice like that. Call your shots. That's what calling your shots mean. Recognizing when you do a proper technique and call it as such, that was the way I want to do it. Recognize when you do an improper technique and call it as such. But don't try to geometrically divide a circle in the middle of this, and that's the only place you're allowed to shoot. This is all acceptable. This is all acceptable. This is all acceptable. But they will require you to do different processes to get it. What I see in class is this will be your fastest time. This should be 0.2 more, and this should be 0.2 more. So between this and this is a 0.4. When I put people on a clock and they tend to be perfectionist or accuracy driven, they're always slower on this one faster on this one, same speed for that one. So because they're doing the same thing over and over, nothing's really changed. All right, and then speed people tend to shoot really quick on this one. All right, and then they try to go quicker on this one, and then at this one there's not as much confirmation on it. We usually have to shoot another shot because we've missed the target. So find out where you're working, get that together. Let's work on that process and see if it really builds it for you. I'm Brian Hill with the Complete Combatant. This is Active Self-Protection Extra. Make sure you hit the like button, make sure you subscribe, leave your comments below, and I look forward to answering them and getting back to work. Remember, go out there, measure, refine, and perform, and call those shots. Thanks, guys.